So last week I got the box done, and then this happened because I needed the shop back. Now that it's a weekend again, I can move all this stuff away and actually start working on this cabinet again. First step is to put the face frame on. And I can tell you, I'm going to be really happy when I stop tearing apart the shop to put it back together. Things are starting to get a little tight in here, and ripping down an 8-foot length is getting a little sketchy. Normally for the face frame, I'd be gluing and tacking it in place, but since I want this to be able to stay modular and be able to come apart and move, I'm screwing most of these in place anywhere where it overlaps from one box to the next. The nice thing about putting a face frame on is because some of the plywood wants to cup a little this way or twist a little that way, the face frame is able to pull it all into straight. Most of the areas I was able to just kind of push it with my arm, but I decided to get lazy and use a trick. Because I'm leaving an overlap on the outside pieces for the finish on the outside, I needed to pull these things straight, but I didn't have anything to clamp to. So I put a piece on the outside that was actually deeper than what the overlap was going to be, and that allowed me to clamp it and pull it nice and tight. And you can see that here. Even a difference in depth of just over a 1/16 is enough to be able to pull it tight. I did the same thing on the other side, though I have to admit I'm not entirely sure what was crooked, the pine or the plywood. But they're nice and flush with each other now. When it came to the center dividers, since those would never be taken off, I did glue and tack those into place like you're supposed to. The bottom part was a bit tricky. I wanted to make sure there was no gap between the concrete and the cabinet because I didn't want dust getting underneath. But I found out that the floor is not 100% level, and there's a bit of a bow right in the center of the cabinet. So I started off cutting it to length and then marking at both ends how much of an unlevel floor it really was, and then just use a straight edge to connect the dots. Once I cut the basic taper out of it, I put it up against the cabinet again and marked out where the concrete seemed to flow up just a little right in the center, and then I just planed it down so it would follow the curve. Face frame done. Next step. This is probably not what you thought was going to be the next step, but it's a very important step. Because this is the step that proves whether or not all the hardware is going to fit, as well as determining if I have to spend an extra $1,000 on hardware for this. You see, there's nearly a $70 difference per pair for hardware sliders that are rated for 200 pounds or 100 pounds. And since I need 18 pairs of sliders just for this cabinet alone, I did what every good woodworker would, and I weighed the hardware. Don't lie, you would too. And since the only scale in the house is one that will only read the weight if you have a heartbeat, this is what I did. It was worth it, because I found out that none of the cubbies were anywhere close to 60 pounds. Mind you, I might be a little subconscious about my weight now, since I had to subtract it off of every single one of these. But since the heaviest one only came up to about 57 pounds, and considering I probably won't be able to fit all of these things into each shelf, taking consideration the actual shelf itself, I think we're okay. That's a big saving. So with that confirmed and a big relief, I went back to working on the face frame. Quick sand, stain, getting it all nice and cleaned up, because it's going to be harder to do this when the drawers are in. And no, for a hardware cabinet in a workshop, this isn't necessary. But just because it's a workshop doesn't mean I don't want it to be pretty. I have to be in here for hours. I want something nice to look at. Now is it time to start building the drawers? Yes. Now it's time to start building the drawers. Next week. What can I say, guys? There's only so much I can fit in a 7-minute video. But I will give you a sneak peek and a bit of a blooper. So enjoy this one. I'm just kidding, guys. I did manage to get it to work. And I'll show you next week how I built this. If you want to see some more wood chip list videos, you can click some of the links here. And don't forget to subscribe. Next week I'll be definitely posting the drawers, I promise. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.